I chose my business name to be Pioneer HVAC Controls because the word pioneer means someone who opens the way for others. And I'm not here saying I'm the savior, Mondo's gonna save you, he's gonna open the way for you to learn HVAC. It's more you as the student, you learn the trade, you can be a pioneer for someone else. If you go into the trade with that mentality, your thinking process changes because now you're doing it for other people, not for yourself. For yourself, of course, but now you're gonna be a pioneer for someone else because you're gonna be a mentor for someone. So
Yeah.
if you go into with that attitude, you're gonna learn and it's gonna stick more. You can't compare yourself. I always say that if you wanna compare yourself to others, then you're asking to sap your energy. You're gonna be sad
Oh,
when you do
yeah.
that. Everyone has a different learning curve and learns different. They have different circumstances. Sometimes I've had students where they've had to work full time while going to school, whereas you had another student where the parents paid for everything. And then they're comparing. I'm like, no, don't compare. This is your journey, but it's gonna be worth it.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, and I'm an HVAC business owner here in South Texas. I do, a little bit of content creation and things of that nature online. On this podcast, we interview a lot of tradespeople from many different trades, business owners, people in manufacturing, people in software companies, new technicians, older technicians, people that start at 18, 16 even, and people that start in their 40s and 50s. So plenty of good conversations to be had with good people and a lot of good stories that maybe you would relate to. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any other location, please leave us a review. We hope to earn those 5 stars, and I really have fun doing this podcast. I appreciate everybody that watches or listens and makes this what it is. And don't forget to check out HVAC Nights every Thursday night. Me and Jake host a live podcast weekly, and you can also check out merch from my store, the HVAC Nights, the nightwear, any of that at reliablehvacr.net. I also want to thank our sponsors that help keep this thing going. Jobber is our favorite CRM. I've tried different ones until finding Jobber that kind of controls the chaos that it is running a business and still being in the field and trying to get all the billing, quoting, submitting everything that you need to do outside of the field. And with Jobber, we do our maintenance contracts, we do our invoicing, our quoting, following up with customers to get reviews. That has helped our business a lot. And it offers website building and a whole bunch of AI features now baked in, and you can also do add-ons if you have any other software that you want, because they do work with a lot of marketing tools and things, AI receptionists and things like that. So check out Jobber for yourself, see if it helps your business. You get a 2-week free trial and a special discount if you use the link down below. Vito Pro Pack is also a supporter, and I can tell you right now, even though I see a bunch of competitors coming into the field, they are still hands down the best tool bags that you can buy. They are an investment, I understand that, but once you try one, like I did back during COVID, you won't want to use any other tool bag. And the thing is, they have so many products now that you can find the one that is perfect for you. So make sure to check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com. True Tech Tools has a lot of their stuff as well. Go check out their website to make sure that you can find the perfect bag for yourself. You won't regret it. And if you guys run your own business, have you heard of CallRail? They are a call tracking service to help you with marketing needs. One of the things that I've heard a lot of is how to get customers, how to get your name out when you're just starting your business. Call tracking and marketing is a big deal, and it's helped us get our name out. And they also introduced this voice assist to help small businesses out when you can't hire or afford to hire a receptionist or even an office space to have this receptionist. So with CallRail in place, they can not only track your calls and tell you what advertisements you're using work or don't work, so you know where to spend your money, backed by data and analytics. And if you're not online, you don't exist in today's world. But they also do this voice assist receptionist that can answer the calls whether you're off, your after hours, weekends with your family, holidays, whatever it is, you're on vacation, you want to take some time off, you still need someone to answer the phone. And in my opinion, in our experience, it's actually helped weed out the good customers from the bad and, spam type of calls that we get. It actually does work. So if you guys want to check it out for yourself, make sure to check out callrail.com. I'll leave a link where you can get a free trial and try out either tracking or the voice assist for yourself and see if you like it and if you can implement it in your business. But trust me, it's going to help you guys quite a bit. Local HQ has been a big help in our marketing and SEO. So they have built our website, they have built our searchability, they have built our Google business profile. And without that, I don't think our phone honestly would have been ringing off the hook the way it is right now. We look professional, everything's in place for customers to find us online, and that is thanks to Local HQ. They are a marketing company that is tailored to the trade. So if you want more information, check out the link below and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free. Armando, what is up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good, Adrian. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad that we could connect. I had seen, well, real quick, I had seen your channel pop up on my feed. I want to say I was searching, because you have a video, I think, on ECM motors, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I had came across my first, because I do strictly commercial, and I work on a lot of older systems. I came across my first, I believe this was my first ECM motor on an RTU. And I was like, what the hell is this? So then I looked it up. I found you. Very good explanation. And I typically record my jobs, right? So I'll record me figuring out something or me replacing, fixing something, diagnosing, whatever it is. And I was like, I have to try to reach out and get you on the show. So I appreciate you for, taking the time here.
Of course. It's my pleasure to be on your show. Yeah, thank you.
So real quick, because I always forget to introduce people because we get into conversation. But real quick, you're from California, and you teach out there and stuff like that. So can you kind of give a quick intro to people listening that may not have found your channel yet, just so they know who you are?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, California. So I started teaching about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And it's funny because I started posting videos on YouTube for the students so that if they didn't understand a lesson during the day, they can go to my YouTube channel and
That's really cool.
learn a little bit more. But then it started taking off. Other people started watching. It was originally intended for the students. So then I thought, you know what? I think I could. I could do this. I can post some more videos. And it's funny you asked that too, because originally posting videos for my students, I thought, you know what? Let me take this approach. Let me focus on posting HVAC videos in Spanish and building automation. I think these are going to be my niches. These are going to be good subjects, but those fell flat. And so then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do HVAC videos in English, and then still with the purpose of helping my students, but then people just started watching them. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna continue doing this. So
That's cool.
yeah.
That's really cool because I went to a trade school, so I'll kind of weave in, my experience with that as well. And, I had a lot of hands-on. We had a really good program. They had a lot of stuff for us to actually work on and kind of go out for those lab days that we had. And my teachers, I had two that ran their own business and taught. I don't know how they did that. And then I had the other two that actually worked for the school. I guess they would work on their chillers and, all the other stuff that they have to deal with. And they would give us, so I had experience from both sides because they would, give us stories as what jobs that they have going on that week or weekends or whatever. And it was always cool to get that perspective. And, it's cool that you have those videos for your students to go and kind of see it visually. And like I said, I went to go look up an ECM motor type of deal, and I found you. That's how I found you. So they're getting out there.
Yeah, I just focus on keeping the videos simple. I If it's not simple, I'm not posting it. And so with people going into the trades, you already have a lot of stress as it is with everything else going on. So you're trying to learn the trade. Simplicity, that's one of my core beliefs, one of the principles I always have in mind when I record. It has to make sense to anyone watching it, even if they're not in the HVAC trade or getting into it. It just has to make sense. So yeah, I just try to keep it simple. That's it.
I love that approach because and we talked about networking before we started recording, and I've gotten to meet and talk to like Craig Migliaccio, who's AC service tech, right? Ty
Yeah.
Brenneman. I've got to meet these guys and be friends with them now, and it's really cool because those are the videos that were out there that obviously they've blown up so much because they do that, they do so much content, and I love their approach on it. Like even Craig, super simple, step by step, straightforward, a lot of visuals. And Ty Brenneman has to be my favorite because he is just so energetic and passionate when he's talking about these things that he makes me get excited and giddy when I watch as well. So I love these approaches to it because it's very different. And like I said, I had a good trade school, I had a good program. Like they were not this energetic as like these guys I mentioned, even yourself. I've enjoyed the videos that you put out, and they're interesting and engaging where you can watch the videos through. That's always a important part as well, right? You want these kids to pay attention all the way through the video. So, back when I went to trade school, it was very textbook heavy. There was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, any of that stuff. So it's whatever you learned in the textbook. If you could stay awake, and then everybody looked forward to the lab days because that's when you would actually, it would make more sense. But now you have everything that you can do virtually. So did you know that another sponsor of the show, Diversitech, is probably in a lot of y'all's vans? They are the umbrella that is Master Care Cleaners, Packard Parts, Hillmore Tools, Fresh Air UV, Swoosh, Quick Sling, Speed Clean, Assurity, and Spin Tools. I have almost something from all of those brands in my van ever since we've started. Packard is a big one for us as far as parts. They usually have something that we would need on a day-to-day basis. So the next time you're replacing parts, maybe look at the name and see if it's one of those. They are your one-stop shop for everything HVAC, and they have you covered for your everyday HVAC needs. I think it's great, being able to put your stuff on YouTube and let everybody else kind of learn from that is great, and I'm glad to see it taking off. I actually just went to go look. You've grown quite a bit since I've contacted you originally, and it's growing really well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Adrian. I think on that note of trade schools, yeah, unfortunately, and I think this is just my belief. There's three types of trade schools out there. Three, and it is going to the right trade school where you get the right knowledge and hands-on. Go into a trade school where where you get no knowledge, you don't learn anything. And third, you go to a trade school where you're taught incorrectly, you get the wrong knowledge. And that was my case. The third one, I was taught the wrong one, and I that's more dangerous than the one with no knowledge, because now you think you know it, but you don't,
Yeah.
and you go on calls trying to fix stuff according to how you were taught, but it's wrong knowledge. And so back in 2016, I went to a 6 month trade school. Of course, it's gonna remain nameless, but I went and I was taught the wrong things. We worked on window AC units only, and so I remember leaving, going confident to the real world. I was able to get a job as a service tech for about 6 months. But out of 4 calls every day, I would probably fix just one, and it got so overwhelming that I ended up even developing vertigo from the stress, because you don't want to give up. You went to trade school, you sacrificed
Yeah.
time and money, although I didn't really pay a lot, but there was a sacrifice to it. And um, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. And then eventually they did let me go, and I ended up going to install. A buddy of mine started his own company, and we did residential install 120-degree attics, working with a foreman that was awesome guy, but he was just on me. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna stick to it, and I'm here since. But I trade schools, for those that are trying to get into the trade, they need to choose the right one. They need to ask the right questions. They need to ask former students that have gone to that school. You got to ask questions because you don't want to be taught the wrong thing. At least let it be the right knowledge or no knowledge. Because if you have no knowledge, you can make a decision and leave. All
Yeah.
right. You're like, oh, you're not teaching me nothing. But then if you're being taught the wrong things, you're going to go through the whole program and then you're going to suffer when you're out in the real world. So,
Definitely. And I can tell you that from the infield the stuff that I've seen in the field, because I went to trade school, and I always tell people I was fortunate that it was a good trade school. Like, I had good teachers. A lot of those teachers, I think, ended up moving on like a couple of years after. So I can't speak to, after that and the whole COVID thing happened. Like, because I've had people that do ask me, like, how was it, that are local to me? And I'm like, look, when I went, it was great. But like you said, you might want to ask questions. You might want to get a tour. You might want to look around, right? You want to make sure that they have everything that you would want out of that experience, because textbook is one thing. Everybody has a textbook. Everybody has, that in classroom teaching, but do they have equipment for you to work on? Are they going to teach you how to braise properly, do things the right way, and vacuum, and like everything, all that goes into play. So it is important to ask the right questions, because I've been asked that as well. It's like, look into the school, make sure it's one that you want, because there are those, and you mentioned those 6 month courses, that we have those around here too. They are like crash courses. I've even heard of some that are like 12 weeks or something, like something crazy.
that's
And it's
crazy.
like a crash course, because they're just going to take your money, kind of throw the textbook at you, and then shove you out the
Yeah.
door, right? That's what they're
Right.
doing. So, like I said, I've always said that I've been fortunate for that, but in the field, now when I got into HVAC myself, my dad doesn't do HVAC. He does food service. So he was an electrician. Now he works on fryers and stoves and all that. And I came in, and I had to ride with other technicians. There's, that I had senior techs that I worked with, right? Other contractors that I worked with, because I wanted to do refrigeration specifically. As a young kid, I couldn't tell those senior techs what they were doing right or wrong, right? Because whatever they said is what goes. I can't change their bad habits. I can't change their mind on things. That's just the way they were taught. That's the way they've been doing it for 20 years, whatever it is. That's the way we're going to do it, right? So I can attest to that in the field, where bad habits are absolutely the worst, because when we hire people now, I would much rather have somebody that doesn't know anything. And we have a guy that came from nursing. I didn't think he was going to last. He
Yeah.
is our best technician right now, our best young technician, because
I
he
believe
wants
it.
to learn, right? He's soaking up everything, asking questions. It's great.
Wow.
So that's true. The whole, like, learning the wrong way, it's hard to correct later, right? Because you want to do things the way that you learned, and it's
Yeah.
worked for you, maybe, for however long you've done it. So yeah, we've had guys that want to come in, and they want like a crazy amount of money, and then I see the kind of work that they do, and I'm like, if you don't want to change your ways, this is not going to work. So definitely, you got to not build those bad habits. And that's something that I did. I knew right from wrong when I worked with those senior techs, and I was like, I am not going to pick up those bad habits. I know what I learned, and I know I had good teachers. And I always said, when I get my own calls, I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it, the right way. The nitrogen, some guys didn't even have a vacuum pump or a micron gauge. Like, there was a lot of hacks out there at that time, and they got away with it. But I was like, when I do it, it might take me an extra couple hours, but I'm going to do it the way that I know is right.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many water systems you have, HVAC systems out there. No vacuum, no refrigerator, no water in those.
All the moisture is and you wonder why, systems fail prematurely. Those are
Yeah.
the reasons, right? Like, you get acid, you get moisture, all that stuff in there.
At least you don't have you hear the beer can cold. They don't believe in superheat or sizing a house, but just putting your thumb and seeing what kind of tonnage system it is. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of habits.
See, and my dad worked because he knew the industry, right? He knew some guys, and that's kind of what helped me is his networking, right? Because he opened this business up. He knew a lot of people. We had contractors that would help us because I like in the meantime I had to get my experience so I can get my license, all that stuff. Like we had a few years in between. So we had guys that came in and that we knew, and some of them did help me as far as like mentorship and all that. But yeah, like the whole when I started going out in the field by myself, I was doing superheat subcool and I was checking. I hooked up everything right, and back
Yeah,
then it was analogs. Digital was barely coming into play, and because I've been doing this almost 20 years, just so you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was very different. It was a little harder to do back then. Now it's super. There's no excuse. You just buy something digital. It comes with the clamps. It does it for
That's
you,
it.
right? So my dad was always amazed that I would set all this up, and he's like, "Oh, you're doing like." He thought it was like super technical. I was like,
Yeah,
"This is
yeah,
like the bare minimum these guys should be doing," because I can't tell you how many times I've gone behind somebody
yeah.
and they replace a TXV or they replace some component and the unit I work on walk-in boxes a lot, so like the freezer's not working right. It's at 20 degrees. Customers like, oh, they came and replaced all this stuff and this and that. I go in there, the guy just didn't set the superheat properly, didn't put his bulb on properly. I get
That's
all
it.
that squared away. I set the superheat, boom, that thing drops, and they look at you like all amazed. I'm like, this should be the bare minimum, if anything, right? I'm not
Yeah,
trying to take. I'm not trying to be a
very.
superhero here. Like these are bare minimum things that you need to learn.
I agree. Yeah, and so that's it's funny you mentioned that too. My mom only speaks Spanish, so she'll watch my YouTube videos, and she's like, I don't know what you're saying, but I mean, I know you're. I could tell like you know what you're talking about, and so she's funny. But yeah, my dad, yeah, like personally myself, like I personally don't feel like I'm mechanically inclined. I don't.
Oh, that's how
I
I was.
Yeah, I'm a pretty fast learner though, and you
Yeah,
don't. I could just watch and I can learn everything there is to that by watching someone and reading books. Don't get me wrong, I like to read, but sometimes I have to read. I have to read the page 10 times for it to click for me. I'm not. I don't know. We're all just wired differently, but yeah, my dad. He just he just had. He didn't go to school. He left school when he was about what is it 9 years old. So never learned how to read and write. So he always had just jobs like shipping and receiving, just moving boxes, manual stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that kind of work. I just
yeah,
never had someone to guide me and mentor me. So when I got into the trade, using a screwdriver, an impact, simple stuff that a lot of people take for granted, I didn't know any of that. And so on top of the trade, there is like a construction skill to this, like cutting like the 2x4s, screws, nails, how to use a hammer, crescent wrench. I had none of that, and so I know it's important for the young generation getting into the trade. I know that they love phones, and phones have
yeah,
their purpose, right? They have their purpose in life. You're learning how to watch videos and take information, but another thing is to use your hands to then make things work and use tools too, because you can use tools wrong. But I'm big on having a mentor, and thankfully now that I'm teaching in another school, but the school was where I was at before. We had a teacher who had about 50 years in the trade. My teaching went from here. My not just teaching my because one thing is the knowledge and another thing is teaching. Anyone can
yeah,
just blur out knowledge, but then teaching is a whole different skill. So, but the knowledge in HVAC, I went from here to like up here, and I remember having these because we would teach the morning and evening class, and we would have like 5 hours in between. I remember, and he could talk forever. I would be there for 3 hours straight, and the first hour would click. The last 2 hours, I am not kidding you, I would leave with my head just warm and hot. But all these conversations I had with him, I was able to really take it to heart, and it definitely brought my next level when it comes to electrical, when it comes to like electrical circuits and HVAC systems. That right there, he basically made me go to the next level because I was just sucking all that information in. So mentors are important, and
yeah.
so I've always look up to mentors as I as I continue, even myself. I mean, I think we're gonna die learning. That's how it is in this trade. So I still have mentors. I have questions. I don't know everything, but I just love to learn, and that is why I chose my business name to be Pioneer HVAC Controls, because the word pioneer means someone who opens the way for others. And I'm not here saying I'm the savior. Mondo's gonna save you. He's gonna open the way for you to learn HVAC. It's more you as the student, you learn the trade. You can be a pioneer for someone else. If you go into the trade with that mentality, your thinking process changes because now you're doing it for other people, not for yourself. For yourself, of course, but now you're gonna be a pioneer for someone else because you're gonna be a mentor for someone. So if
Yeah.
you go into with that attitude, you're gonna learn and it's gonna stick more. And that at least has helped me a lot. And that has helped me in trying to learn others and see how they can also be a pioneer for someone else. Something changes and they're like, you know what? I'm doing this for myself, but I'm doing it for someone else because I might be a senior tech. I might be teaching someone else, and they end up learning, and then it sticks because you're doing it with a purpose too now. So that's kind of what I try to, yeah, tell the guys. But that's, yeah, it's kind of, it's important to learn the construction skills though, if anything too. So it's a whole different beast.
Well, there's a couple of points there to that I kind of want to elaborate on, but the that whole mechanically inclined, I was not good at that at all, and that's because my dad was an electrician when I grew up, and my grandfather was a mechanic. Now I hung around quite a bit, and I was an outdoors kid. I like to take things apart and all that. I never worked on a car. I never, went
Yeah.
with my dad to work. I never did that stuff, right? They were not going to put power tools in my hands as a kid. That didn't happen, right? So I never got to get those skills early when I was a kid because I just recorded with somebody who was like, yeah, I've been working around tools since I was like 7 years old. And I'm like, that
Yeah.
wasn't me. You had a good head start. So when I started at like 20, I rode around with like the senior techs, like I mentioned, and they would report back to my dad, right? Because I would be the helper, the parts runner, all this, and they would
Yeah.
let me do things here and there, right? So I've changed some parts on like kitchen equipment and stuff that we used to do, and that was always the first complaint: is he's a quick learner, this and that, but he takes forever with that power drill. He takes forever with the screws. He doesn't know how to use this or that. And I was like, all right, like I'm gonna learn. It's gonna take me a while, but I'm gonna figure this out because that's like something that I can work on, right? And
Yeah.
I was the guy that used like a nut driver for years until I finally got like a drill because I wasn't comfortable with it. So I used to do everything by hand just because I was stubborn about it. I was like, no, I can do it. I just don't have the power tool skills, I guess. And that took a little bit of or that took a little while for me to get the all that kind of skill set because I had the knowledge. Like you mentioned, I went to school, so I knew how to do this stuff. I just didn't have the skill set for the hand tools and all that. So that
Yeah.
that took a little bit. And also you mentioned because I was actually going to tell you that I mentioned Craig and Ty earlier. I mentioned you that I like watching the videos that you put out. That's a whole other skill, man. The teaching, that is a different beast. That is something you got to connect with these students. You got to get them to learn. You got to get them to pick up this skill, and that's a whole other skill set because I've never been one to teach myself. Like I don't like it. I like doing the work. I can figure out anything that's put in front of me, and I'm good at that part. It was difficult for me to shift, especially this year, to hiring apprentices and now teaching them. And I will say it's a great feeling because once the light bulb turns on, they're
Yeah.
able to do things on their own. Like it's a great feeling that you were able to teach them that, but it is not easy by far.
No, it's not. It's not easy. And then you can't really have a, how do I say this? You can't really have a bad day because you have students in front of you and they know if you're not, if you're not having a good day. So, but the light bulb that goes, that's amazing. I love it when they get that light bulb and it just clicks. I will say this: anyone trying to teach moving forward, you do have a generation of people coming into the trade, um, and I think you have more now because they're you see these videos about AI taking jobs, so they're trying to get into the trades. And whether how accurate that is or not, the truth is there's a lot of people coming into the trades. Um, a lot of them are like 18, 19, 20. Maybe I don't know about yourself, Adrian, but you probably didn't grow up with the phone like
No.
during your high school years, right? Which I'm that's a gift. That's good because you got to think, you got to play, you got to do all that. Me, I was 18 when I 17, 18 when I got my phone, so I got to kind of
What
in a way
was okay? I don't know the age difference here, but what was your first phone? So something that I've been doing more now as we expand and hire people is training. Something that I've dealt with in the past is dealing with customers and their weird complaints. Where we can get help on those two fronts is actually the software called LiveSwitch. Now, LiveSwitch actually helped a lot of big sporting events, so they have a very capable system in place to where they handle a lot of things during COVID for your NBA, NFL, WWE. Whenever they had those virtual fans, that was LiveSwitch. They also helped with the 911 call where they can have these video calls and different ways of phoning in an emergency. And now they are helping out home service businesses because the guy that actually runs it ran a home service business himself and actually knows the difficulties and tasks as a business owner, employees, and all that comes with it. You need something that does more than just a FaceTime call. With LiveSwitch, you can do these video calls to any device that has a browser built in, and it is just a link that the customer or one of your technicians clicks on. Once you click on that link, you get end-to-end video. So if you're interested and you want to check out LiveSwitch for yourself, make sure to check out the link down below. And I think this is a game changer. And there's so much other things that I just have not even scratched the surface on. It has a lot of AI built into it. It is just meant to make this experience with your employees and technicians or your customers seamless and just a better experience for both sides.
oh man, I think it was a sidekick, the one that it was you would press something and
Mm.
then the screen would just go
Oh,
boom.
you had the cool phone. I never got that one. I always asked for that one.
But it had no service. I just was able
Oh,
to use it. So I don't know if
so
that's work, but
yeah, so like me, I mean, I graduated high school in '06, so I'm getting up there. But my
oh
I had a
nine, 9
okay,
here.
okay, we're
Yeah.
not too far off.
Oh yeah.
I had a phone um towards the end of high school. Like I never had one. I mean, there weren't many to pick from, but I had one of those huge Nokia brick phones, right? It looks like a house phone.
What are
Just
you
because my
doing with the
parents
brick?
want. What was that?
Yeah. Like, what are you doing with that brick walking down the street,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, they would make fun of me all the time. But then, if anybody needed to borrow or because I would stay after school for like sports and stuff, I would get make fun of all day for it, right? And then at the end of the day, hey, can I borrow your phone to call my parents? And I'm like, ah, who's laughing now? But yeah, that's what I had. And I mean, I'll let you finish, but
Sure.
that was a big disadvantage, or it's more of an advantage for the kids now, right? Like it's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Resources are endless right now, and it is so easy to get in if you put your mind to it. Me and like you were mentioning, we didn't have that. I got into the field, and I did have senior techs that kind of helped us, and then I did have when I got my experience, it was with a residential tech, just to get
Mhm.
my license, all that stuff that we have to deal with here. And then I got thrown into commercial refrigeration. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing because I had never worked on it. Like I had to figure it out on the fly. So a lot of that was me trying to look up manuals. That wasn't even a thing. Like you could maybe find a couple online somewhere, right? And it was very hard. Now you can pull up manuals, you can pull up I love pulling up like parts breakdowns and just as much information as I can on a unit. I love doing that now. And it is so much easier now. If you want the information, you can find it. It's right there in your hand.
People today, the guys, they're at an advantage. Even I've had manuals where you can upload it on like ChatGPT, upload the actual manual there and say, "Can you explain how the harvesting work for in an ice machine?" And it literally just summarizes that in just one paragraph, and it just clicks. And so, but I think what I was mentioning earlier though is that they're at an advantage, but they're also a little bit at a disadvantage. A lot of them, they have their phones, and yes, they have videos, but they're just, because I don't know, the way they're just using the technology is just quick dopamine fixes, boom,
Yeah.
click. So then when you go to school, at least with the teaching aspect, as a teacher, as an instructor rather, you have to find ways to not lose their attention, because their attention spans like 20 minutes. And so teaching now, for those that want to get into teaching, they have to have that in mind. If not, the phone's going to take your job. They're going to be on their phone when you're talking. So for
That's
me, it's
crazy.
just all about visual illustrations, personal experiences, and a lot of interaction, and of course, the lab as well. But it has to be now. Like, to do I did a 1 hour. There's days where I do like a 20-minute lecture, 30-minute lecture, an hour lecture, an hour and a half lecture. It just depends. But when I do hour lectures, I I tend to lose the ones that are a little bit younger. The ones that are older, they're okay, they're still following. But what I do now is I ask a lot of questions, and then I'll put them on the spot too, not
Yeah.
intentionally, but because I want them to learn. But you're right though. The amount of technology, they have it all, in their hands. It could be at a different level if they use it right. You're right, and they have videos, they have everything. So use it, but
Yeah.
also just be careful, because the real world, school and the real world are completely different. So you're not gonna be able to use your phone to be on social media.
No.
You're gonna have to
Yeah.
be at least driving. Maybe sometimes trying to fix the unit, you can do it while you do it. But if you have no signal, you're out in the desert, you kind of have to use what you've
No, you
learned. And
you definitely have to learn because even if you use, let's say you learn stuff on like YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is, right? Because there's a lot of good content creators that like show you step by step how to do things. Like there's a lot of that content, which I love seeing, and I love seeing more of it pop up. But don't rely on that because I've seen that where people go up, and I get it from the new kids, right? They'll go out to their van and kind of look up a video on it because it's easy to do now. But don't rely on that because I've seen that too where they're at the unit and they always have to pull up a video, right? Just to do anything on that unit to kind of walk them through. Don't use it as a crutch. Use it as, a resource to help you, but to help you learn. Like try to soak it up. Because back before we've had guys that because like I mentioned mentors, right? Like there's guys that you can call and they'll help you out on
yeah,
calls and stuff like that. I knew a guy that got around to these getting hired at these companies because he would be like, yeah, I know everything. I know refrigeration, I know AC, I know this and that. And then the complaint with him was that he was always calling his buddy to help him over the phone. That was always his thing. So that got around, like that kind of reputation gets around, right? And everybody knew he was the guy that had to call on every call. So don't let it be a crutch, but use it as a resource to learn because you don't want to be there dependent on you. Like you said, you might not have service. You don't want to be dependent on that phone to do your job.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just like you said, it's just a balance. It's balanced, right? Use your phone, but then also use your knowledge, because I always remember what my father-in-law tells me. It's only a matter of time. If you don't understand something, it's only a matter of time for you to learn it and learn how to fix something or whatever it is you want to do. I'm an extrovert, so I can be around people. Even introverts can have a job in teaching, but it's not easy because sometimes you wake up, you're not having a good day, and you still have to be with teaching them. And then the one quality that is like by far the most important is being patient. You cannot get angry at them if they're not understanding something within 5-10 minutes or even after a week. You can't. If you're getting angry at them, then you shouldn't be teaching. It's
Yeah.
simple as that, because you're going to be doing that for as long as you want to. Another thing too, and I don't know if this goes on where you're from, Adrian, but and this is my biggest pet peeve. My biggest pet peeve. So you got a lot of trade schools here that you're paying thousands of dollars. And of course, after you apply, if it's an accredited school, you apply for financial aid, you're still paying thousands of dollars in debt, at least that's a loan throughout, I don't know how many years, right? But so you're still paying a lot. And these schools, a lot of these, at least here in the area, they're tailored for you to become a service technician. Okay. But if that school didn't do a good job in teaching you because maybe you have two instructors for 35 students, and
Mm.
then only the aggressive students that are always aggressive and in the front are the ones learning, and the ones that are shy in the back, not learning. You got 10 that are in the back. They graduate school and they didn't really learn it as much or really learn it well. And they're trying to get a job and they end up getting a job as an installer or installer helper, which there's nothing wrong with installation, installer helper. But why go to the school in the first place and get into debt where you could have just gotten that job in the beginning as an installer helper? So I think a lot of trade schools they should incorporate installation, but also the ratio too. Sometimes they're so packed, and but that's my biggest pet peeve. And because I've seen it, they go to school, they're in debt, they get work as an installer helper. They're like, I didn't sign up for this, and then they leave, and they have to pay that debt, and they have to get another job to then just a regular job, another job just to pay for that debt. But like, why go to school if you could have just gotten that without going to school? Just get a job as an installer helper. So
Yeah.
that's my biggest pet peeve. I've seen it too many times.
I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that because, again, I don't know, what goes on at some of these other trade schools, especially the one, and that makes more sense if it's, especially with the crash course ones, which is what I consider them, right? Where it's like
Crash cars, yeah.
less than 3 months, right? I never even thought about that because with the one I went to, it was through our local community college. Now it's like a full college, but they're the only ones that offered it here. Our university is different. I was actually going to the university to get my basics, and I was getting into mechanical engineering because that's what I thought I wanted. Just
Yeah.
because I was always interested in this, just how things work, electronics, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And my parents actually thought of HVAC in particular because my dad had started his business, and again, he does restaurant work, and he wanted like an AC guy or refrigeration guy. So the school that I went to actually taught us everything. They had a class for, for install. They had a class for commercial refrigeration, a class for electrical. Like I got everything laid out,
Wow.
right?
For you.
So I know how to do duct work, and it now it's coming back into play because now we are offering it when I never offered it before because we've look. I always tell people if you can get more skills, that'll make you so valuable in this
Yeah.
field, right? And like you said, like they get in, or if a school focuses too much on service or whatever it is, I didn't even think about that. That's really horrible. Because
Yeah.
even me, I learned how to make these and transitions because we deal with mostly ductboard down here,
Yeah.
and that's what they taught us, right? They taught us how to do that. Maybe a little bit of sheet metal, but mostly duct work. So I know what tools I need, even though I don't have them. Like I said, we don't offer it. I know what
Yeah.
tools I need. I know how to use those tools. I know how to build these things from scratch. And that's something that I enjoyed. Maybe I don't know how you guys do it like at your school, but or I didn't enjoy it at the time, but our I appreciate it now. Our teachers at the time would make us do everything by hand. Everything manual, everything the hard way first, and then they would tell us at the end of the class like, "Oh, they can actually do this for you at the supply house. Like you never have to do this, but we want you to know
Yeah.
how to do it." Right? The duct
Good.
board, the cutting, everything. So I had those skills even though I didn't have to use them because I knew I wasn't going to do that kind of work, but I was taught that. And like I said, almost 18, 19 years later, it's going to come back into play now because now we are offering these services because it's just nobody here has those skills. Like I've seen some really bad installs here now where we're having to go in and redo some of the stuff.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me started. The number one issue is they always undersize the return.
Yeah.
And then that's the biggest issue. And another issue is, are you trying to cool the attic too? Because there's so many air leaks. Like, there's someone living up in the attic? Like,
I got a
this,
story for that
right.
one too.
Yeah. And so like I said, I've seen a lot of stuff like that, and it's like, who's doing these jobs? I don't think people that know about HVAC and you can do a good clean ductwork job, but then you're not sizing the unit. So you put a 5 ton, you're getting 4 tons out of it. So it's just and it's very basic stuff, but yeah, I
You
would
you
love to
would
hear
you
your
would think it's basic stuff. I think the
yeah.
same thing. And now Now nothing surprises me because I'm like, of course it wasn't done right, you know?
I'm done. I'm done being surprised. It's going with it's gonna be the worst, but no, but yeah, I look forward to your story. What was that? I love stories. That's why I get to tell my students about these stories later.
No, it's just okay. So I'll kind of go into like as far as what I mentioned the duct that we have to offer now because so when I got my license and when I got into this field, my dad was a food service restaurant only, and we do hospitals, but only the kitchens. That
Yeah.
was the only kind of work that I did. So like when I got my license, I got my class B because I didn't need to do industrial chillers or anything like that. Like I knew which license I wanted. I stuck to that. And I was like, I'm going to do this kind of work forever. And I personally prefer to do refrigeration. So I don't really like to touch too much on the AC side. I do get asked to, I do get those calls because we can do both. I mean, if you know one, you know the other, right?
Yeah.
Where I kind of drew the line was like designing duct work, like all these other stuff that should have been installed correctly, or we don't even like to do too many installs. So now, and I've had this argument in my comments, right? Because we've gotten so many new customers now where I'm like, the AC is working, but it feels uncomfortable, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And you start have to I deal with RTUs, right? The RTU could be working perfectly. Like it's cooling, it's doing everything it needs to, everything's working fine. Let's look in the attic, right? Let's dig around, see what we find, because of a lot of times on the AC side, it's usually airflow related issues. That's like
Yeah.
90% of it. So I've had these arguments because I have to do these air balances because it doesn't make any sense. Once you get into the attic and you take a look at where these vents go, where the duct runs, how long the duct runs, everybody here uses flex duct. Like when you take all these factors in, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm like, who installed this, right?
Yeah.
And people will tell me, and they're probably installers, no, that it was engineered that way. Like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know why it's not working. I'm like, no, look, I'm gonna go do my air balance. I'm gonna go redirect some duct. I'm gonna fix their airflow issue, and then boom, space is super cool, super comfortable. So that's why we have to offer these services now because I've been going to these places and this ductwork is just not done right. Like they're not balanced, they're not sealed, they're not using the pookie, right? The mastic.
Yeah.
A lot of these don't even have mastic, they're just taped and that tape
Yeah.
falls off, right? So this is stuff that I never wanted to do, but I'm having to offer it now because a lot of companies here are not doing things the way they should be. And we've had the cooling the attic space. I had one that I had never really looked in the attic because those service calls super random, right? We go and get a call, we fix something, we're in and out. Never had to really inspect too much. Well, I decided to inspect the attic because they were like, "It's not working." I'm like, "It is working. Let's dig around." There's vents, and I don't know if it was because they do remodels. So I don't know if it was because of remodel or what. Pop in the attic, right? There's a couple of them that are disconnected because they're
Yeah.
just taped. There's no mastic. So I fixed those, right? And then I go further down, and there's these flex ducts just hanging out in the attic. And I look around. There's no diffuser. There's no space for them. Somebody must have remodeled or ran that duct and been like, "Oh, we don't have anywhere to put it. Let's just lay it here." I found one location had two of those. I'm like, "Your attic is super cold, but your kitchen is hot. We're gonna have to, cut a hole and make you a new vent and all that kind of stuff." So I think I've actually seen that at two locations, and I'm like,
Oh man.
nobody has told you this. Nobody else has found this. I'm like, I don't know how long it's been like that, but that's your problem.
Oh, I don't. And the people that this is what's scary. I'm sure there's people that look at these jobs, installers or techs, and like they just go and literally go to the customer and say everything's fine, and then
Yeah.
they leave. They get that $75 diagnostic fee or whatever, and um, I don't know how you can go about your day knowing that it wasn't truthful what you said. I've seen that a lot too, but it is it is insane.
I went to another one because I forgot, it was with the last person I talked to. I always thought I was the only technician that, my customers would ever call. I realized
Yeah,
you get second opinions, you get other cheaper
yeah,
companies that go in, stuff like that. So I had one, and they don't always tell you that they called somebody else. That I found
Hmm.
that out too. So
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, no, we don't. Nobody else has been here. This and that, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start digging around because everything's working. I'm gonna start digging around, see what the hell's going on. Because the last time I was here, it was just like an electrical wire, like with a fan motor or capacitor or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't touch anything else, so I'm gonna go look. Found a new blower motor in the kitchen AC, right? And they're like, yeah, it's like dripping water everywhere, this and that. I'm like, maybe it's a plug drain or something, but drain was fine. Somebody put in a new motor, spliced it in. Now, I don't know. I don't even know how this happened because they're color coded. They didn't even put the colors back right. It's like black, yellow, blue or something for the three
It's
phase
a
motor.
black, blue, red, maybe orange, yeah, and white.
Yeah, it was a carrier. So they replaced the blower motor and they swapped the colors. And then I was there I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, oh, I get it. Your motor's running backwards. So whoever came in,
Wow.
installed it, charged you for it, said it was working, whatever. Like you said, I don't know how they go about their day.
I
You know,
don't
whoever
know.
you pay to do this just didn't do
Yeah.
it right. And that one caused all the duct to get super like sweaty, moisture soaked because it had been running like
Oh,
that. I don't know how long because I hadn't been there in months. And I just thought maybe nothing had broken down, but obviously somebody else was there. And I'm like, okay, I can. The motor is a simple fix. We can just swap the wires on the three phase and it rotates back, right? Your duct is trash now. So that is one that we had to go back and completely redo the duct board because it had been running backwards for so long, making moisture. I think it even made ice and stuff. And
I was gonna say if it was a little frozen. Yeah, if it was
I
frozen.
think a part of it was frozen as well that we
Yeah,
found.
yeah,
And I was so confused when I saw that, and I'm like who does this kind of work, you know? But it happens, and that cost them. I don't remember what we charged for it, but it was an expensive
yeah.
repair.
Of course, of course. Yeah. I mean, over here we call them Mickey Mouse jobs. Over here,
Yeah,
I don't know if they call them over there in Texas, but yeah, Mickey Mouse jobs. I'm actually trying right now. I'm currently in the process of getting my contractor's license. So hopefully that I get that in the beginning of next year. But I'm always trying to set projects for myself. So that's one of them. Another one is the trying to learn psychrometrics, at least at a very deep level. And there's a lot of books out there, but I found good content creators, YouTube channels where they teach you,
have you seen
about
Tim?
Tim DeStasio.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he
him
can
and
he can talk your
Tony.
ear off. Yeah, he can talk. Yes, Tony too. Yeah,
Tony, I've learned a lot, and then Tim, I just recently was talking with him on LinkedIn, and because I'm trying to learn how to do the manual J, manual S, manual D, when heat load calculations, and he knows how to do that, and he's gonna have like a Zoom class. I'm like, hey, just tell me, I'll pay for the class because he's gonna do it from the
yeah,
beginning to the end.
yeah, he does them every now and then. I think I probably paid for it. I couldn't make it because I ended up working late or something like that. But he does those pretty often, and he's somebody that I could just listen to all day because he is very knowledgeable with that kind of stuff, right? And the same thing with Tony. Like I follow those two guys, and I'm always like amazed at that stuff. And that was another thing that they taught us in school. I don't know if it's maybe not common, but we did the manual J and everything, and all the heat load calculations by hand. We had to draw it out. We had to map everything, measure it, come up with our calculations and everything. So I've done that
Wow.
before. I just don't like to do it.
No, I it's a lot. It's a lot, yeah. And 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 that's the thing. Like I'm gonna eventually I'm gonna like I said, it's only a matter of time until I kind of master that or at least learn it well. But here, at least that I don't know how it is in Texas, but here 400 square feet per ton, right? 400 CFM per ton. But now with Title 24 and all these energy efficient homes, airtight homes, it's easy now to be oversizing those homes because now they're super well
It's completely
insulated.
different now. Yes.
It is. And I have a buddy who lives in Central California. He has a two-story home and it's about 2,000 something square feet. He's got thick insulation, paint that reflects the sun's light, and he cools the whole house with a 2 ton. So,
I've heard of that.
it's like, yeah, he's really knowledgeable in HVAC. And but now with all these homes, now you'll be oversizing these homes, and you're gonna kill that compressor. You're not gonna get remove the latent heat, humidity. So I'm trying to learn that before, like it's already happening. So I'm behind. So I'm
It's
definitely
all
trying to
about
learn.
knowledge. Like if you can apply yourself to learn these things, right, you can be so much better than a lot of your competition. I've said this famously before, like unfortunately or fortunately, just a little bit of effort can make you way better than a lot of other technicians. So, fortunately for you, but unfortunately for the trade as a whole, like I wish we were just better standards and all that, but just a little bit of effort takes you a long way. And it's a lot of it is really about knowledge, because I've had those talks with Tim and other guys, and it's just a different game right now. Like you said, the homes, the newer homes are so tightly sealed now. You got to worry about other things, right? The tonnage is one thing, but the air quality, and he's one that harps on air quality too. And it's something I never thought about before. I'm like, yeah, if the homes are tighter, you have to watch out with your air quality now, because you're just recirculating all that air. If you cook a lot, you have candles, anything like that. Those are things you have to take into consideration too. And yeah, around here, the whole tonnage thing, and I've talked to other guys, like there is like that rule of thumb, right? You so many square feet is whatever tonnage, and you might not need all that. Happens more than you would think. I have some places even on the commercial side that are way oversized, and the way we, instead of like trying to redo everything, the way we compensate is we can close off some vents, we can redirect some vents. That's when I talk about air balancing. Is
Yeah.
we already have this unit here that they're not gonna pay to replace, so let's just try and balance it out the best way we can. And that's kind of how we fix a lot of things. And that's where I have my argument. Like, no, the whoever installed it didn't know what they were doing, because this is not the right tonnage. I have a I have a restaurant. The new ones are super small compared to the older ones around here, right? It's a fast food chain. They have two 13-ton Aeon units for this small ass restaurant. You know, nobody even
Two
dines in two
13.
13
Wow.
tons. I've
What
never
kind of
seen that before.
Oh my gosh.
The typically what these restaurants take is like a 7.5, one in the front, one in the back. I was like,
Okay.
who came up with 13 tons per space? I was like, this makes no sense. So it's overkill. And I run into that a lot, man. It's just like I don't understand, but they're trying to sell whatever it is, right? I'm sure those were super expensive.
Oh,
And
Aeons, yeah. Aeons are
and
super
I had a
expensive.
yeah, and I had another location that we fixed it with air balancing as well, because it wasn't cooling properly. But before we did that, they were getting second opinions. The second opinion wanted to put a whole other unit.
I mean, they always think oversizing is the way to go. It's not. Especially, at least here in LA, we deal more with sensible cooling. We don't have too much humidity, but then you go to Florida or other places. I like variety. That's why I'm doing the C20, because it's gonna open the doors for other stuff. Hopefully.
That's
Yeah.
cool, and that's I think that's a common theme with a lot of guys that get into HVAC, is they like the variety, right? I mean, some people like it more than others, but that's a good thing
Yeah.
about the trade, is you never see the same thing. Always have new stuff to work on, always have new things to learn. That's what I was going to emphasize on. You bring up the automation thing, and that you want to try something like that for yourself, and obviously, make some educational stuff on it. But as a technician in today's day and age, I think you have to keep up with technology. So that
Yeah.
is something, and that's something that you do in this trade, is always you're always learning, you're always doing new things. And that's been my benefit as well, because when we talk about the beer can cold people and the technicians maybe that I learned from or competed with and whatnot, and my advantage was I was pretty open to learning new things and trying new things, right? So once we switched over to like all this electronic stuff, that's where a lot of these guys struggled that I used to work with, or
Oh yeah.
these
Yeah.
companies that we worked with, right? Before. And I was like, it's not that hard. Like, just go read a
Yeah.
manual, go take a class, go do something. Just keep
That's
up to
it.
date, because the industry just keeps shifting to newer things. And like in my situation, I do refrigeration, like I mentioned. we got a lot of the electronic expansion valves. We got a lot of the control boards now, like in the freezers, right? And I'll be the first one to say I wish we could go back to mechanical because that was just so much easier to get in and out, right? But now you got to do a little bit of programming, a little bit of troubleshooting the board, all these things, and to help you in your career, like just keep up with this stuff because that is always going to come into play. Because beforehand, you would never see any of that stuff unless you did controls, right? You would never see any of
Yeah.
that stuff. Now it's like we got zoning boards, zones, all that stuff
Yeah.
in residential. Those residential systems are now having boards in the condensers. I'm seeing it in refrigeration. Like you're gonna see it everywhere. I came across my first variable speed compressor on an RTU,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was like, "What am I looking at?" So I had to
Yeah.
go home and study on that, read up on it, just because I'm like, I've never seen this. I don't know what it's doing, and turned out to be a bad compressor. It was pretty simple at that point, but we're trying to trace it, and I'm like, there's a VFD over here. What the hell is this doing here? And it's like, oh, that's a variable speed compressor. Did not
Yeah.
know that was a thing, and you got to keep learning.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's crazy part is that there's already technology out there, HVAC equipment where even like your gas valve, it's a modulating gas valve. Zero to it's 100%, 0 to 100% gas valve compressors. It's already out there, but I think with all the energy efficiency, they're gonna start promoting it, installing it,
Yeah,
and we have to keep up with it. You don't keep up with it, man, we're gonna suffer. You anyone's gonna suffer. If you want to continue in HVAC, you have to learn. You have to be able to sit down and learn. I mean, at least if you want to progress, we have an inverter Bosch split system with an A2R refrigerant in our lab, and there's that R454B refrigerant. That's one thing, right? And now they have an A2L sensor too,
oh
right?
yeah,
So then it's a sensor that detects if there's a leak, the refrigerant leaks, it will shut off the unit and then just have the blower motor turn on to dissipate, I guess, that refrigerant because it's slightly flammable. But if you were to see the board, like you said, a beer can cold guy, and they go to a inverter and they look at the indoor board and then the outdoor board, they're gonna look at it, they're gonna go crazy. You look at those boards, it is crazy. But they're the same concepts as mini splits. You're using thermistors, you're using EEVs, your compressor, your indoor fan, and your outdoor fan. They do use um, they go by hertz pulse width modulation. It's just frequencies, but little stuff like that. It's already out there. It's already out there. So it's just crazy. You just have to continue learning. But I love to
there,
learn and other guys learn. Learning is all
yeah.
about learning.
There's so much, man. Like, and that's what always got me ahead when I started because, like I said, that there was nothing you could look up on the spot really because this stuff didn't
Yeah.
exist, 18, 19 years ago. But I would go home and try to get physical manuals, right? Or take them from the unit and go read them or try really hard to find something online about it and ask around or whatever it was. That was my advantage that I love what I do. I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to be, the best that I could be. And the only way I could do that was by learning more than these other guys that were out there, right? Nobody, I feel like a lot of guys at that time, I don't know if I mean, maybe it still happens, like they get complacent, they learn it, and they want to do it that one way the entire time. And you have to, what I like most about this trade is you get to be creative, you get to adapt, and you're constantly like, getting better at things. And that was my advantage, just learning after work, diving into it and kind of brushing up. I carried my textbooks and a lot of manuals in my van for the longest time just because I would maybe take a break and go brush up on something. I really don't want more work. It's been that kind of,
Yeah.
last couple of years, but I have to take on more work because they are at some places are begging us to do this kind of work because they can't find good companies, right? There is a big demand. That's why, the whole thing with this podcast and this stuff that I do is like trade awareness because nobody told me when I was a kid, that there's this, wonderful trade to get into. High demand. There's a lot of demand for good technicians. And to be a good technician, learn more. Learn the most that you can. I can't tell you how many times I've gone behind guys. I mentioned the TXV thing earlier. That should have been a basic thing. I can't tell you on this new equipment how many times I've gone behind just because they didn't know how to program that board. They didn't know how to read it. They didn't know how to look up a manual just to figure out how to do that. That's been a lot of my calls in the past few years. Is just programming stuff.
And you're doing a good thing, Adrian, with trade awareness. I commend you on that because I had born and raised in East LA, went to New York to do some volunteer work, then came back, and then I got a job at a Ralph's at the grocery store. Nothing wrong working at Ralph's. Like I'm just gonna, there's nothing wrong, right?
Look, I'm gonna interject there a little bit because I forgot to mention this with the person that I recorded with earlier because we were talking about other jobs.
Sure.
I used to work at a Sam's Club, right?
Oh yeah,
The big grocery store, right?
yeah,
And I actually took a pay cut to go work for my dad, and that's my dad, right? He didn't pay me
yeah,
more
yeah,
than the
yeah,
grocery store, right? Which is fine.
yeah,
I look back, it was a great decision, and
yeah,
I did that because I saw a future in the trades, right?
yeah,
There's you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a business owner, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be a senior tech somewhere making a ridiculous amount of money just because you're the guy that they depend on, right? Like there's a lot that you can do.
yeah,
At that grocery job, that Sam's Club job, I had like what's my future, right? Like there's
yeah.
nothing to really strive for. And I busted my ass and they kept telling me, "Oh, you didn't meet our expectations. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. We can't give you a raise." I never got a freaking raise there, man. Like there was so much like there's a ceiling there. There's no
Yeah.
ceiling if you get into the trades.
Oh yeah,
And it
yeah,
felt so good to tell them I quit. I'm going to go work for my dad now. I'm going to go do something better. It felt so good the day that I did that. And again, I took less money to go do something that was going to be better for my life. So just kind of wanted to interject there because you see a
oh
lot of
yeah,
these
yeah.
memes or jokes like, oh, McDonald's is paying like 20 an hour or whatever it is.
Oh
And
yeah,
I get a lot of questions like, what do you make over there? And I'm like, you're going to start really low, but you can work
yeah,
your way up pretty quick. But
yeah.
take into account, do you want to be at a McDonald's for 20 years or do you want to be go do your own thing over here in the trades,
Yeah.
later on. So it's a career choice.
Thank you for sharing that, Adrian. Because I have students that had a student that was as a manager in Chipotle making like 30 an hour, goes to school for HVAC, and now he has to take a big pay cut,
Yeah.
like 22, 23. But it but at Chipotle as a manager, and if you're sometimes you have to have those jobs. You have kids, you got
Yeah.
to make money. You can't go to school. That's okay. But if you have an opportunity though, like if you stay there though, you're just gonna hit a plateau. You're not gonna be able to grow. HVAC, you're always gonna grow. And so now he's making, I think about the same, a little bit less, but he's just on his way to making more and more and more. And so he's happy he made that decision. At least in my case with Ralph's, I think I was making 950 an hour. And I don't mind customer service, so I think it's an incentive. They told me you're part of the customer service elite team. So they didn't give me an hourly raise. They had me take part of customer service meetings. So I was away from working as a courtesy clerk, and some of the other people would kind of get jealous. But the point is that I was mopping of an aisle on Ralph's, just mopping, right? They do kind of like an hourly Ralph's check. I don't know, I forget what they call it. And then a buddy of mine who I already knew, had just been a long time since I had connected with him. He's walking the opposite way towards me, and then I stop with my mop, and we just end up conversing, and he tells me, "How about have you ever thought about HVAC?" I'm like, "HVAC? What's HVAC?" And then at that moment, he was working for a school district. He was making good money. But that kind of got my wheels turning. But that's why I brought up the trade awareness. Some people actually don't know what the V in HVAC stands for,
Yeah.
or any other letters, right? They don't know anything. So trade awareness is important. You're doing a good thing. And if it wasn't for him, I probably still, I probably would be working at another job. But if it wasn't for him telling me, hey, do HVAC, and so that's all it took. Now it was up to me to find the right school. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
didn't find the right school because of my money situation. But then after that, it was just a matter of not giving up. and you just don't give up, and opportunities come up, they land in your lap, and you just keep moving forward. So this is how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's something you want to do, and I mean, we could list all the great things, right? Like the, not being, I can't be behind a desk, even though I have to do it as a business owner now. It's
Yeah.
just, and my dad purposely stuck me with that job from the get go because he wanted to be out in the field. Um, I hate it, but I get things done, and every now and then I get behind because I want to be out in the field. The benefit
Yeah.
is you can travel, you can make as much as you want, you get to learn, you get to. I like to be, or I like the challenging stuff now because I want to do like the hard calls, the figuring out, problem solving. All of that stuff is right up my alley, and being the guy that fixes things when several other technicians couldn't fix it, and
Yeah.
a
Nice
lot of
feeling.
that, yeah, a lot of that is just you being prepared and making sure that you're on top of like your craft. Like you're
Yeah.
constantly, again, we're gonna say learning a lot. You're constantly learning. You're constantly, getting these skills, honing them and crafting them and all that. So that's, if you want that, that's there in the trades. You paint a picture like, oh, they're just flipping burgers, whatever. No, those are
Yeah.
hectic jobs, especially during the holidays and all this
Oh,
other stuff. Like, I wouldn't want to deal with that. And, I get much more satisfaction in the trades. And I hope, more kids are aware. And I've seen a good shift. I know we talked about the generation coming in. I've seen a good shift. And I've interviewed a lot of young 18, 19-year-old kids that are like super dedicated. So that's good to see. And I actually had a guy that came back to us working right now. So he used to help us here and there, and then he got like a job at a supply house. They paid really well. Those Some of those supply houses make a ton of money, right? So they have
yeah.
benefits and everything. And then he went to work for a big warehouse as like the maintenance HVAC guy, right? So it was
Yeah.
very like mundane work, like boring, this and that, whatever. He was, I forgot why, but he was looking for another job, so he came over as like a in between job. I was like, yeah, we need the help right now. Come over. He, we had a talk recently because he obviously we started him at a lower rate than what he was
Yeah.
making over there, right? We're gonna start you here, and see where it goes. You're just here for a couple months, according to him, and help you get on your feet and all that. We had a talk a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, man, I really missed this. He's like, I
Yeah.
love getting my hands dirty. I love fixing things. Like, I forgot how much I enjoyed this because he had went to these other like desk jobs and the warehouse
Oh yeah.
job, all that, right? So he's like, I want to stay, and he's like, I'll earn my pay. He's like, don't worry about it. Like, this is what I love to do, and that was just a cool conversation to have with him. Full
Wow.
circle back, because he used to
Yeah.
help us. Full circle
Yeah.
back, has the right attitude, right? Getting his hands dirty, wanting to do more, showing that he wants to do more, and then waiting for that raise because he knows how quickly it can come in his trade.
Yeah. Well, that's good for, and I wish him the best. I know he's gonna continue growing, especially with having you around. The other thing I just thought of, and it's very important. Um, and I mean, I can talk for hours, so I know I gotta stop. But
We'll have to
but
have you on a part two sometime.
part two, yeah, the the work and life balance and mental health. Those two things are important because I don't know, with the new generation, I think the word is called resilience. Um, Being more resilient to life's stresses, and then the actual work itself is hard too. And then after that, you have to go home and deal with family, bills, other stuff. It's a lot, and I've noticed that even with the right guy with the right intention, loving HVAC, if he doesn't play his cards right and trying to balance work and life and the mental health, it is absolutely important. A lot of the times, after a year, they quit. They quit
Yeah,
HVAC, even though they love it, but they cannot handle the stress. And it can come from lack of knowledge of the trade itself. It can be internal issues, right? Anxiety, depression. That's okay if you have it. You have to find how to manage that. First, you have to learn that, because the point is that with work and HVAC, it's stressful, and you're working with systems that can kill you if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So the managing the work and life balance, it HVAC's awesome, but it's not all about work. Get a hobby, go on a walk to the park, get a dog, connect with people, um, and then mental health. Listen to it, do what you have to do. I mean, it all just kind of couples, and it's just all connected, because the point is you want to make sure you last in HVAC a long
Yes.
time, and you can't compare yourself with someone else that, oh look, he's fine, and you can't compare yourself. I always say that if you want to compare yourself to others, then you're asking to sap your energy. You're gonna be sad
Oh,
when you do
yeah.
that. Everyone has a different learning curve and learns different. They have different circumstances. Sometimes I've had students where they've had to work full time while going to school, whereas you had another student where the parents paid for everything, so they got a lot of chill and relaxing time. And then they're comparing. I'm like, no, don't compare. This is your journey, but it's gonna be worth it. And then when it comes to work, others have different circumstances, but I think it's just balance. I always talk about balance. Even HVAC systems, they're balance systems. You can't stress them out. Compressors are gonna die, fans, blower motors. I mean, it's all about balance. HVAC, chillers, building automation, whatever you're working on. So that key word, I'm always focusing on balance, because when it comes to physical and mental and emotional health, that's important. Now, if you talk about physical health, you know how it is driving those long hours, getting a jumbo jack deal from Jack in the Box or McDonald's, not eating healthy. That's kind of hard sometimes because you can't
Yeah.
prepare lunch. I get that, but and that's a whole different ball game. But when it comes to the mental health and work life and balance, it is as important as your physical health.
That's why I usually will ask, some of the guys that come on here, like, what do you do to either have that balance or to decompress, right? Because everybody needs something. And you brought up like
Yeah.
you need hobbies and this and that. That's something that I've kind of harped on as well. So it's a little easier for me because I'm just, for better or worse, because some people don't like it, I'm a
Hmm.
carefree person. I don't I'm one of those, like, if it happens, it happens, and then you move on and you kind of deal with it, right? Now I came from, because I work with my dad, very different mindset. He he let things get to him. He gets consumed sometimes by work, and and I think it was with the previous person that I talked to, like, you kind of learn what to do and also what not to do, right, from your parents or anybody
Yeah.
around you, right? You have to take the good with the bad, and that was my whole thing, is I didn't want to be stressed about work. So you have to have that balance. You have to have that. It's okay, because I have a brother, and I have to do this kind of evaluation now as the guy that's taking over this business. So when my dad started this business, I only wanted to be an employee. I never wanted to be a business owner. It just wasn't for me, right? That was his dream, and he
Yeah.
wanted to pass it on to his kids. Me and my brother worked together. Fortunate for my dad that I am a lot like him, and I took on that challenge and I embraced it now.
Yeah.
And I work like him. I have the same work ethic. We have a lot of similarities, that way. And we worked really well together because he did not like to do the paperwork, the business work, right? And I was good with computers. I was taught a lot of this stuff in school, like when I went to school. So it was easy for me to do the documentation, paperwork, all that kind of stuff. And now, my brother works with us, and he's a gamer. He's much younger than I am. He's a much different kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I get after him sometimes because he stays up till 4 in the morning, and I'm like, dude, we have work tomorrow. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So, but he still shows up. He does the job. He does his thing, right? I can't. You got to kind of not everybody's the same. Not everybody is
Yeah.
devoted as you are or somebody else is. Not
Right.
everybody wants this to be their life. Like, everybody's different. Because I've had guys that hound me because they're the owner. They're working at 12 o'clock at night, and they're bragging about it and telling me that I should be like that. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't want to be like that. Like, everybody's different. So I'm the one implementing these things so that our guys are not working and being burnt out. That's just the way that I want to do things. And I've seen it. Some of our guys get burnt out, and that is another, issue that we have in this industry is
Yeah.
burnout, right? You get frustrated, you work too much, you work through lunch. There's a lot of things. A lot of this stuff you think is mental, but it can hurt you physically after a
Oh yeah.
while. So that
Yeah.
high blood pressure, all that factors into it. Like I don't want to be like that. So
Wow. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Adrian. Yeah, I think me and my brother went to HVAC school together, and he actually, after a couple months, he ended up it wasn't for him.
oh, I have
So
another
now,
brother.
yeah. So,
He
oh,
came in
really? Yeah.
he came and worked
Yeah.
for a day and then quit.
Oh, okay, that's even faster. Wow, yeah. Yeah, my brother, a couple months in the same company too. Went to the same school, same company, and up into the attic, fiberglass insulation and all that. And it wasn't for
it,
him, and
it
he's happy
it's
what he's
not
doing
for
now. Yeah,
it's not
it's
for
not for
everybody,
everyone.
yeah.
Not for everybody. So, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is it's just gotta continue learning. That's it. Yeah, and have fun.
Yeah. If man, and I was that person that took it home and it ate at me. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do all these
Yeah,
things. It would bleed into my personal life because then I would be upset all the time, right? And then I realized I can't be that person. And I have kids now. I want them
wow.
not to
Yeah,
remember me as a bitter old man, right? Like I want
yeah,
them to have their dad around to do other things. I don't want to be work, work, work. So please, because there's a expectation sometimes, there's a stigma sometimes as to a hardworking blue collar guy.
yeah,
You don't you don't have to be work 24/7 because I've been, like I said, hounded by these other guys, older guys that
yeah.
critique or criticize what I do, and I'm like, dude, I want to have my off time, my fun, my kids, my family time. I want all that stuff. That's what I work for. Because I somebody told me you don't live to work. You work to live. You want to benefit from your business, right? Like you want to. I've been making it a point to take trips more often now with the kids because they're older and we can enjoy those things. Like that's what I want to do. What are your hobbies? What do you do to get off of your mind off work?
You know, I like to cook. I like to cook. My wife and I we don't have kids. We have a dog, a 4.5 year old Maltipoo. So we just play with him all the time. But besides that and cooking, I like to play FIFA a lot. The online, I'll play
Yeah,
FIFA. And My wife and I, we do a lot of volunteer work. We just hanging out with friends and then just checking out different restaurants in LA. You'll never go to every single restaurant in LA. There's too many, and so we're foodies. So we'll try to
yeah. I
find
was,
out
I was
where we.
gonna I was gonna say me and my girlfriend now are foodies too because we like to go and like try like the unique spot. Like, and we travel more now, so we'll find something that we want to try.
Do you guys have In and Out where you're at?
We have them in San Antonio. That's like a 3.5 hour drive from where I'm at. I'm way
Oh, okay.
south. We got
Uh,
Whataburger everywhere.
Whataburger. That's right. I visited San Antonio years back. I remember. Yeah, they had that. They had that. But you know what? I think one of my hobbies too. I really love. You kind of mentioned that taking like a 1 day or 2 day trips, going to Central California because it's California is beautiful, and just do like a 1 day 2 day Airbnb thing with the wife, and then just walk
Yeah.
around the dog and all that. I think if I were to prioritize that list, yeah, that would be number one. Kind of just getting out of LA, doing our thing. My students know this about me, but I love kombucha. So I've done kombucha tasting
Oh,
recently. Yeah, I'm not a beer, wine, liquor. I'm okay. But then people say, "What's kombucha?" I'm like, oh, I have to explain it now. Try it. Happy
but
wife, happy life.
yeah, there you go. I appreciate it, man. Armando, you taking the time to sit here. I'm glad that we connected, like I mentioned, and just the teaching stuff, not easy, but the videos are great. I love what you do, man, and big fan.
I appreciate that, Adrian. Yeah, it's a pleasure to just teach the next generation. I enjoy it, and also a pleasure in connecting with you too, Adrian. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, this is not the last time. If you ever come to Los Angeles, we can get a nice double double from In and Out or something, and have a good time and
Yeah,
talk about something but HVAC. So
Oh, I know. And that's
yeah.
one of my favorite things. So we mentioned the expo because you've been out to the trade show over there. Uh, iHacky, right?
Yeah, iHacky in Pasadena. They have it every year,
And
and I think we had talked
yeah,
about
the
possibly
AHR
going.
Expo. That's my favorite thing is to go out there and just conversate with people, just on
Yeah,
anything and everything, right? That's always a good thing. I think you started making other accounts, right? You're on other platforms because you're on YouTube primarily.
I the advertising got to me. I downloaded Opus Clip. I don't know if you heard of Opus
Oh
Clip.
yeah.
And Opus Clip, man, it is a different beast. It so Instagram and TikTok, and then my YouTube. But with Opus
Okay.
Clip, you put a YouTube link or a Google link, whatever it is. It takes that video, cuts it into little videos, and you decide what you want. Add AI stuff to it, just very little, not too much, and it uploads it to all your social media platforms within a minute.
All right, man. I'll make sure to link everything down below so they can find you. Appreciate it again. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. Thank you for having me.
Everybody, oh, sorry. Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.